Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Curious Collection. I'm Will. Cinnamon's out of the office today. She's traveling. She's in Michigan, so 1,200 miles away. I've been here by myself over the weekend with my son for the last 4 days, and we're surviving. So I don't know about thriving, but we're definitely surviving. So I had told you guys that if you had, went into the message, gave me a topic, I would do a topic. So the topic is ephemera. Thank you to Donna for suggesting this. It's something that I sell primarily, and it's something that I'm passionate about. So I can't say that I'm an expert. By no means am I an expert, but it is something I'm passionate about, and I'm always trying to learn more. So let's delve into what is ephemera. A lot of people have never heard the word, let alone know what the subject matter is. And how does that relate to what I do on my eBay business? So, in a nutshell, ephemera, this is from the Ephemera Society, is vintage printed or written items which originally served some purpose which were not expected to be preserved or retained. And then they go on to state about how, like, it's primarily written. So you would have thought about, like, maybe an old letter or something along those lines. But the reality is that, like, your old radio tubes, your wax rolls off the Edison machine, that's not something that would have been preserved or intended to last 100 years. But we've seen that, you can actually go out and find these old wax rolls, people singing. I mean, it sounds like it's coming out of a tin can, but like, there is a preservation method for those. You have to keep them a certain way. And the fact that these things have lasted 100 years is amazing. And the whole intent is to preserve history and have firsthand knowledge of history. It's not some professor writing a topic. It's, this is the person's experience in the firsthand, or this is what, things may have looked like in the firsthand. So I've grabbed a couple of things out of the store, some stuff out of that hasn't been listed necessarily. Some of it is, just to kind of share with you what it is that I do and what it is that I look for. So I've got this great piece right here, and this is some people. They're at the beach, early 1900s. I love the swimsuits there. I can actually date this based on the markings on the back there. We've got this great portrait. This is Army personnel, World War I, sitting there by the bench. And on the back here, it actually says World War I, and it has his name. So again, this is something that, the family may have just been at the beach one day and said, hey, you know what, let's the photographers would actually walk around on the beach and take people's photos. They also, in places like Coney Island, had, like, photographers that were on the boardwalk. Photos were still a novelty back at the turn of the century. So to get your picture taken on vacation or something, that was really kind of a luxury item, and something that was very exciting to people. So that is certainly some stuff that I look for. I like military, I like things related to war. Now, World War I's not real popular, and I understand that, but there may be a person out there who's interested in military soldiers. There may be a person out there who's interested in beach life, beach themes. There may be, that kind of pulls me to the next topic, is who's buying this. There may be a person who wants to write a book about the history of the certain beachside resort that they live in. And these people exist out here. All of those reference books that you find, this is where that stuff comes from. So I do have people that reach out to me, hey, I see you have this from my community. Do you have anything more? Or I see you have something on this topic. Can you give me a list of other items that you might have I'd be interested in acquiring? So it's not not everything squarely fits into ephemera for me, but it is certainly an anchor point of my business. So I sell photographs and postcards, and I feel like a lot of times those are very similar. Clearly, these are photographic postcards. They're RPPCs. I've sold glass plate negatives. I've sold slides. So you're kind of extending into the photography category, but it works very well. These items, a glass plate negative from the turn of the century, 1920s, that wouldn't have been intended to last 100 years. Something else I have here. This is the presidential inauguration ball for Ronald Reagan. This is an original document. And I found this in a local antique mall for $3. I personally believe it has more value to that. Anyone who's interested in politics knows that Ronald Reagan is basically the birth of the modern conservative movement. Had a lot of economic theories around the trickle-down effect and all of this stuff. Whether or not you believe in that, that's not really the topic. I don't want to get political because, again, this isn't a political channel. And honestly, I don't know that any politician is really going to change your life more than you will. Some other stuff that I have here. This is an inauguration packet from Bill Clinton. So this is from his first inauguration, 1993. And that's also in my store. And then I've got just sharing along the political theme. And none of this stuff was really intended to last. That invitation was something that would have been sent to a guest with the expectation it would have been discarded. The next thing up here, I've got a dinner. This is a dinner plan menu. This is when Pope John Paul came to the White House and visited with Jimmy Carter and his wife. So October 6th, 1979, this piece of ephemera here, I have a whole collection of these, and they're different presidents. This one here is the Chancellor of Germany, 1986. I've got probably 24 pieces like that. They're all state dinners. They're all foreign dignitaries, famous people. One of them was Bill Clinton. Dionne Warwick was the entertainer. Very interesting subject matter. This is something that would have been discarded. It wasn't intended to last more than that state dinner. How did I get them? So this specific collection, believe it or not, was the White House plumber. He would gather up discarded documents like this. There's nothing that's classified. It's not like Mar-a-Lago. There's nothing in here I shouldn't have. But it's stuff that would have been discarded from a state dinner or that type of thing. And so I have the great opportunity here to not just have them, but to be able to offer them up to other people that are interested in the history of politics, interested in specific events in time. So that's what I have with regard to the political stuff. I've also got some documents here that I wanted to share. Other types of stuff that I pick up that would have been discarded. So this is from North German Lloyd Line. And this is a passenger list from 1930. And it was the trip from Bremen to New York City. So what is this? Why would this matter? In 1930, why would it matter? Well, to begin with, there are people that collect information on boats. There are people that collect history of shipping lines. So maybe they want to have a passenger list from every ship in the fleet. There's also people that collect these because of the art on the cover. You can kind of see there. There's other people who are interested in the information within them. So you can see here, this passenger list has a list, every person on the ship, including the staff. So I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, my grandfather worked on that boat. I'm really excited to get this. Oh my God, thank you so much for offering this up for sale. There's people who will buy these because of the immigration record. So as you know, prior to the modern 20th century, prior to World War II, we didn't have air travel. It just did not exist. So if you were coming from Europe to the United States or vice versa, you had to take one of these boats. You had to take one of the steamer ships to do international travel. And so every ship, every trip had a passenger's log, and they were given out to the guests. It was kind of a memento, but again, it clearly was not meant to last 100 years. If it was, they would have done better. They would have used higher grade materials. They would have, preserved it in some type of material. It was meant to be kind of a bit of a memento for the ship. If there was an incident, you think about the Titanic, we need to know who's on that boat. And people also use them as like an autograph book. So they would go through getting autographs back in the 20s and 30s was really popular. And so there are some that I have, and they've found the people, and they've got their autographs in the books. So that in itself, if you could find one, maybe your great grandfather was on that ship and he signed it. Absolutely amazing. Great historical artifact for a family to be able to collect. Who else buys these? Museums. Museums will buy these if they're doing some type of special event or a feature on a ship or on the history of shipping. I've seen pieces that are purchased specifically on the passenger logs for. There's archives. They will take these, they will break them apart, they will scan them into their systems, and they'll publish that either for a charge, or they'll publish it as public record. And so you can actually go on to like a ancestry.com and find, oh, my grandfather was on that ship and here's his name. I have an exact date of where he immigrated from and when he arrived in the country. So that's really important. Very interesting to me. And again, so like this is a really unconventional category to sell on eBay. There are other people that sell cigar bands, soup can labels, paper boxes from cereal, the little toys that come out of the cereal boxes. These are all like really different, interesting things. But the whole point of all of it is a historical record and a connection to the past that you're not going to get out of a textbook. You're not going to get out of the encyclopedia. So as I sell, and I'm not really going to go through a bunch of postcards and show, but you can imagine over the course of approximately 130 years of postcard history, there's a lot of documentation there. There's a lot of personal stories, individuals talking to other family members, friends, loved ones, and just putting their account. So everybody, anybody that's familiar with Ken Burns knows about his different documentaries. So that's kind of how I see like some of this stuff is we can deep dive into the past. I've purchased collections of letters from World War II. And the one specific case, the guy, his brother was on a ship, he was on another ship, and there was communication back and forth between them as well as to their mother. So this is, again, that firsthand account. The history books gloss over. I like to think of history as a story of people. And a lot of times history books want to talk about political movements. They want to talk about different characteristics in society that drive events. But, that's dates and locations. These aren't solely what history is about. History is the experience that humans have and how it relates to events. It's not just the event. The event didn't just spring out of nowhere. It's deeply rooted in our society and who we are as people. And so the ability for us to have access to that firsthand, for people like me, very interesting. I think it's the same thing that drives a lot of people when they're talking about other types of collectibles. It's, people that are very interested in baseball cards, as an example. It's not that they just one day woke up and they're like, hey, these are really cool. No, they were probably raised in a baseball household. They, maybe dad had a baseball collection, or grandpa had a baseball card collection, or maybe grandpa took them to the game. So there's that connection when they're filling those they're acquiring new pieces. It's a connection to the past, something that they're passionate about. I see people that they want to buy cards for, say, Magic the Gathering or something. Well, if you're my age and you're buying Magic the Gathering cards, you're probably playing the game. You probably have a friend group, so maybe it's advancing your gameplay, but it's also connecting to something in your past. And that's really the thing about all of this ephemera, is that you're connecting today to a past you. And I kind of feel like I don't want to look at this as a sad situation. We know that as adults, like, you cannot regain your childhood, but in some ways I think that that's what it is that we want to hold on to. We want to regain something from the past that we can bring with us into the future. Whether it's people that are, the soldier here who, may have been somebody's grandfather and endured a war, or maybe it's, the person who had saved this card from the beach and just wanted to remember better days. I really think that for me, this is an amazing category to sell in. Is it going to be interesting to everyone? No, clearly not. This is a very niche market, what I sell, and there's very few collectors out there in the world. Fortunately, I do have eBay. eBay has a very broad reach, and for most of the stuff that I sell, frankly, there's not another place out there that's going to get the same kind of eyes and the same kind of attention that I'm able to get on eBay. So I'm definitely happy to have that. And I wouldn't be able to do this work if it wasn't for this platform specifically. It's not going to work well on other platforms, say Amazon or Walmart or, Target app or something. They're the people that are on those platforms, they're looking for current modern manufactured goods. They're not looking for historical artifacts. So for me, this is great. Something else that I sell is billheads. And again, pretty much anything that I come across that I think is just interesting. And that's really the whole litmus test. People talk about, they go and they pick up 80s toys and they got to do their comps, and they want to find out like what accessories are there and all this stuff. When I go out and I come across documentation, the thing that I kind of use to determine whether or not I want to buy it is it interesting to me? Does it make my heart skip a beat? If it doesn't, then I'm going to keep walking. So that right there is the whole litmus test. That's 100%. If I find it interesting, I'll pick it up. If I don't think it's interesting, if I think it's boring, I'll just keep walking. So other stuff that I've sold in the past, let me think here. I've sold dinner menus, the paper dinner menus that you'd get in the 60s, 70s, 80s at diners. They maybe have a map of the city or something on it, like typically in cartoon form for children. People collect that. I've already mentioned the soup labels, cigar bands, anything that would have been on a product that would have been discarded. The little, small medicine bottles, the labels off from those. I had one that had chloroform on the label. Very interesting. I can't sell that on eBay because of the AI doesn't understand the difference between a chloroform label and a bottle of chloroform. So, that it is what it is. You have to be aware of your platform and what the limitations are. Try to think of anything else. Old maps. I've got some old maps that I've picked up. And when I say old, I'm talking, 20s, 30s, 40s, nothing excessive, nothing, no treasure maps of Spanish galleons or anything like that. But just a wide array of things that I find interesting in general. And so the next thing is, how do I find them? Where do I go to find this stuff? It's not, I can't go to the thrift store. It's if paper shows up at a thrift store, old photos, postcards, they just throw it away. It's very sad. Most people don't know that there's value in this stuff. So as there's estates, the families are discarding it. estate companies don't know that there's value, so they're discarding it. Um, so how do I find it? Well, I talk to other dealers. I have a couple of different auction houses I work with, and when they're doing their buys, they're keeping that in mind. So the salesperson's actually telling the families, do not throw that away. I know somebody that'll buy that. So I've acquired tens of thousands of documents through the different auction houses that I work with. And some of them are interesting, some of them are not. So it really just is, you have to dig through it. You have to go and look at every single paper. You've got to read it. You know, it is not legal in the United States to buy birth certificates, passports, death certificates, all of this type of stuff. You know, think about your personal security and safety. Inevitably, that type of stuff will be mixed into some of these collections. That stuff that is destroyed, and to ensure that it is not being used in an illegal manner, just to put people at rest. I've sold ticket stubs to old concerts. There was a concert with I'm trying to remember who the star was. I'm kind of embarrassed. I can't remember. Willie Nelson. So mid 80s, Willie Nelson was performing at a local venue. This is in the like when he was doing Farm Aid and stuff. I think he still does it, but they had a couple of tickets and they had saved them in their little jewelry box. I looked at it. I love Willie Nelson. I love country music from the 70s and 80s and even before. And so I took these pieces, I put them together as a lot, and I put them up for sale. And believe it or not, there's other Willie Nelson fans. So, you know, it's not just records and concert tees. The ticket stubs are worth something too. Super Bowl stubs. You know, this is another thing. I've sold several tickets from football games. I don't collect, sporting event stuff, but if it happens into my hands, there's a market out there for it. That's ephemera. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys, give you a little bit of a peek into what I do, why I do it, and what it's about. So, like I said, it's a niche market. Clearly, there's not enough room in the world, and there's frankly probably not enough interesting things in the world for every seller on the platform to sell this. But at least some of the stuff is being saved, and the history and the richness of our society is being saved. So I hope you guys are having a great week. Please like and subscribe. About 20% of our actual viewers subscribe. So if you could hit that subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great day.